Yet another legal delay to tell you about this morning. The U.S. Supreme Court is ruling against the administration for efforts to freeze foreign aid spending by a vote of 5-4. Now, 2 conservative judges joined their 3 liberal colleagues in rejecting the president's request to freeze nearly $2 billion in State Department aid and USAID. You can see here the majority of judges who voted with the majority, and there are the dissenters there. The dissenters, including Judge Alito, Clarence Thomas, Judge Neil Gorsuch, and also Judge Brett Kavanaugh. Now, this was another effort to slash government spending. The decision is directing the lower court to clarify what obligations the government needs to meet in order to pay global health groups for work that was already done. The nonprofit groups and businesses who sued, they say they are still waiting for the money they believe they are owed. The court did not immediately say when that money needs to be released, which gives the White House time to continue challenging the ruling. So let's bring in Steve Baric right now. He's a former federal prosecutor and a managing partner of Baric Law. Good morning to you, Steve. You know, I want to talk with what we've been seeing in terms of the trend here, the legal battles between the administration and the courts. Tell us what happened in this case and how we got to this point.
Right. So what happened initially, there was an initial lawsuit filed for a temporary restraining order, preliminary injunction filed. The court ruled on the merits of that, I think around February 13th. And then at that point, no payments came from the government. And there was an additional order on the 25th of February ordering the government to issue the money. Now, what's unique about the court's ruling yesterday is the government only challenged the February 25th order. And so the court only ruled on that. So it's a very, very narrow ruling. I don't know that it's going to have a big impact on other cases that are currently out there, because I don't think the court got to the crux of the matter. And that is, you know, constitutionally, where are we at when you have traditionally the Congress has the power of the purse, the power to spend. And obviously they have not been minding the store. There's been a lot of waste, graft, and corruption. And what happens when the executive branch tries to rein that in? So I don't think this is the end of these lawsuits, but I would say yesterday's ruling was, although impactful for the nonprofits involved, I think there are going to be bigger battles to come.
Yeah, and speaking of some of those bigger battles to come, Steve, you know, 100 lawsuits have been filed since President Trump's inauguration, 20 of the cases challenging the actions of DOJ. Now, the president has said they initially started off doing this right away because they anticipated pushback would be led by the Democrats and a lot of these organizations that do have corruption embedded within. We're seeing that being exposed. They have prepared, they say, to fight it out in court. That's coming from the administration. So how significant is this decision in relation to the message that it sends to other cases? Because we were just showing video that had boxes of USAID food being passed. And in fact, a lot of the things that USAID does is not directed or not related to food and feeding the nations. It's actually related to nation development.
Yeah, I think that it'll embolden some of these nonprofits, and I think when they look at the case and they read the press clippings, you know, it'll embolden them and give them hope for future litigation. But I think from a legal perspective, I think the ruling is quite narrow. Like I mentioned earlier, it's literally a one-sentence ruling. It's very narrow based on the very limited procedural facts of this current case. So I think the interesting part is what's going to happen when we get to the merits of this, when the court is going to have to decide, okay, so we've had a Congress who's been asleep at the switch. They've been allowing all these nonprofits to take advantage of government funding. I'm not saying all, but a lot of ill-advised spending, let's put it that way. And what happens when you walk into that environment and the executive branch is saying, wait, this is waste, and we're wasting the taxpayers' money. And I think that's, by the way, what Justice Alito was pointing out in his dissent, in his disappointment.
Very interesting. Well, we know a lot of cases still have to play out, of course. We're going to be looking for those rulings. We know Elon Musk was just on the Hill yesterday meeting with congressional leaders. He's saying that they're going to be working more so now with the secretaries, hopefully to avoid more of these legal challenges. So, Steve, we appreciate your insight. We're going to continue to have you back to help us walk through this because there's a lot happening on both sides. We want to make sure we cover it all. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.